What if I told you that the absolute most dangerous place to be a romantic isn't, in a big, cold, cynical city? It's actually right in the middle of a picturesque 200-year-old small town where everybody knows your name.
It's a terrifying thought, honestly. I mean, we tend to romanticize small towns as these safe havens, right? But the reality of a tight-knit community is that it operates like a panopticon. You are always being observed.
Exactly. Your history is public record. Your failures are community property.
Right, which is so stressful.
Which is exactly why we are diving straight into the deep end of Dream Harbor today. We are looking squarely at the events of Laurie Gilmore's The Daisy Chain Flower Shop.
Book 6 of the series, yeah.
Yep, and specifically, we are unpacking the mechanics of a small-town curse, the crushing weight of a generational legacy, and how to rewrite a narrative when an entire town has already decided how your story ends.
It's such a rich text for that.
It really is. And since you listening already know the ins and outs of Dream Harbor, we aren't going to waste time doing a basic book report. We want to get straight into the psychology of this place.
And to understand the psychology, you really have to look at the geography. I mean, the physical space of Dream Harbor is practically a character in itself. It completely dictates how these characters behave.
Oh, absolutely. Think about the map of this town. It's a perfectly curated, inescapable ecosystem.
Yeah, you have Logan's farm on the outskirts, Kira's Christmas tree farm nearby.
Right, but Main Street is where the real psychological pressure cooker is.
Oh, for sure.
It's this mid-18th century block. You've got the apple pie ice cream parlor, the pet shop, Sullivan's Pub.
The Pumpkin Spice Cafe.
Yes.
Yes.
The gingerbread bakery
Yeah.
and the cinnamon bun bookstore. I mean, if you have a bad breakup in a city, you can just change neighborhoods. You can go to a different grocery store.
Exactly.
In Dream Harbor, if your heart gets broken, you
Yeah.
still have to walk past the same bakery and the same bookstore every single day. You are literally trapped in a snow globe.
Trapped is the operative word there. And right in the center of that snow globe, anchoring that entire historic block, is the Daisy Chain Flower Shop.
Which is iconic.
Right. This isn't just a retail space. We are talking about a 200-year-old building with original stained glass above the door. It is a civic institution.
It is. And the current steward of that institution is our very reluctant protagonist, Daisy Scott.
Yes.
Daisy isn't just a business owner. She is the latest link in a literal century-long chain of daisies. Her mother is Daisy May.
Grandma Jean's sister was Daisy.
Her great aunt was Daisy. I mean,
Oh.
they passed down this name and this flower shop like it is a mandatory genetic trait.
Like eye color or something.
Yeah. Inheriting this shop is like being handed the steering wheel of a massive moving train.
Wow, yeah.
You didn't lay the tracks, you didn't choose the destination, but if you take your hands off the wheel, everyone in the town is going to blame you for the crash.
That's a brilliant way to conceptualize it. I mean, imagine inheriting a legacy you never applied for.
It's like being born into a family of clowns when all you want to do is be a moody poet.
Right. You want to be this edgy person, but the universe keeps forcing you into the bright yellow apron. The psychological weight of that generational expectation is staggering. It completely strips her of her individual agency.
Because she didn't apply for this job.
Exactly. It was an identity assigned to her at birth. The name itself, Daisy, comes with so much baggage. It implies something perennial, bright, sunny, simple, and cheerful.
Which is exactly what she is desperately trying not to be. You look at Daisy, and she is in full rebellion against the concept of a daisy.
Oh, completely.
She wears an entirely black wardrobe. She spent her childhood fighting against the yellow dresses her mother forced her into until she was like 9 years old.
Which is hilarious.
And in the 4th grade, she actively lobbied the town to start calling her Jade.
I love that detail so much. Let's unpack that Jade persona for a second. Why Jade?
Well, it's hard, right?
Exactly. Jade is a hard stone. It's impenetrable. It's cool to the touch. It is the exact opposite of a fragile, soft flower petal. Daisy uses this dark, cynical, edgy persona as armor.
Yeah, she constantly makes dark, deadpan jokes to her friends about keeping dead bodies in her basement.
Right, because she wants to project this image that she is untouchable, that she doesn't care about romance or sunshine or the legacy of her name. But the tragedy is that her armor is incredibly thin.
Oh, it's paper thin. Inside, she is completely soft. She is still the sensitive girl in the yellow dress who wants to be loved, and the town sees right through her edgy Jade routine.
They definitely do. They know she's vulnerable.
Which is where the dynamic shifts from a quirky internal identity crisis to an absolute external nightmare. because in a place like Dream Harbor, your personal vulnerability is community currency.
Oh, that's such a good point.
And the town weaponizes it against her through this ridiculous rumor mill.
The sociology of the rumor mill in this story is fascinating. It is a masterclass in how communities construct their own realities.
It really is. And I have to bring up the absolute absurdity of how this specific crisis starts. It starts with a dream, not a metaphorical dream, a literal REM sleep dream.
Right, Mayor Kelly's dream.
Yeah. 6 months prior, at a packed town meeting, Mayor Kelly casually mentions that he had a foggy dream about a dark cloud hovering over the daisy chain flower shop.
Just casually drops that bomb.
Now, I have to push back on the town's logic here. I mean, I understand small town quirks, but how does an entire modern community hear about a foggy dream and instantly decide, yes, this is empirical evidence of a curse?
It's wild.
It feels like we're back in the Salem witch trials, but with, like, floral arrangements instead of pitchforks.
It absolutely mirrors historical folklore and the mechanics of a witch hunt, just, with lower stakes.
Right.
To understand why the town latches onto this, you have to understand the psychology of groupthink and scapegoating.
Okay, lay it on me.
Well, Dream Harbor has a historical precedent of quirky leadership. Remember, a previous mayor used to read tea leaves as a side hustle.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
So the community is already primed for magical thinking. But the deeper mechanism here is anxiety.
Marital anxiety specifically.
Exactly. Love, marriage, and commitment are inherently terrifying. They're unpredictable. You can do everything perfectly right, and a marriage can still fail.
Which is a scary thought.
It is. That randomness is horrifying to the human brain.
Yeah.
We desperately crave order. So when Mayor Kelly mentions a dark cloud, the town subconsciously seizes an opportunity to create a false sense of control over the unpredictable nature of love.
Because Daisy has the perfect resume for a scapegoat at this moment, right? Let's look at the actual data the town is quissing.
Yeah.
Daisy has an ex-husband.
Yep.
More recently, she has an ex-fiancé, David, who did the absolute unthinkable and dumped her via text just 1 month before their wedding.
A profoundly humiliating public rejection.
Via text. I can't even get over that. And on top of her own personal romantic disasters, 3 weddings that she provided the flowers for ended in divorce within a year. Now, statistically, in any given population, some marriages are going to fail. Daisy accurately points out that Jeannie and Logan are still happily married, and she did their flowers.
A very solid data point.
But the town entirely ignores that data point because it doesn't fit their new superstitious paradigm. They conflate her personal romantic failures with her professional output. The narrative solidifies Daisy is cursed.
Her bad luck is infectious.
Exactly. If she touches your wedding bouquets, your marriage is doomed.
And going back to your question about why the town believes this, it's because it's highly comforting to them. If the failure of a marriage is caused by a cursed florist, then all you have to do to protect your own relationship is avoid the florist.
Wow. Yeah, it's just easier.
It is a psychological defense mechanism. They quarantine Daisy to protect themselves from the contagion of divorce.
But the financial toll of that quarantine is immediate and devastating. She goes from a thriving business with a calendar packed full of spring and summer weddings to an absolute ghost town.
It's heartbreaking.
She is baking nothing but funerals. Her 98-year-old great-uncle dies, and she is standing there arranging calla lilies for his casket, doing the math in her head, realizing that her business is on the verge of bankruptcy.
The economic reality of a small town is brutal here. A boycott like this isn't just a dip in quarterly profits, it's an existential threat.
Right. The only recent wedding she worked was Jeannie and Logan's, and she only got that because her friend Annie strong-armed it into happening to prove a point.
And Mayor Kelly feels so incredibly guilty for accidentally initiating this boycott with his dream comment that he comes in and guilt buys mixed bouquets every single Saturday.
Which is such a perfectly passive-aggressive small-town apology. Sorry I ruined your 200-year-old family legacy. Here's $20 for some hydrangeas.
Right, like that fixes it.
As Daisy notes, a pity bouquet once a week does not make up for thousands of dollars in lost wedding revenue. And the pressure is compounding. She isn't just failing herself, she feels like she is failing the ghosts of her ancestors.
Oh, the generational guilt is huge.
She's letting down generations of women who survived the Great Depression, a world war, and the catastrophic invasive rose fungus of 1987. She is terrified that she is going to be the definitive broken link in the daisy chain.
Which sets the perfect stage for the inciting incident. Her psychological defenses are completely eroded. She is financially panicked, she is emotionally isolated, and she is physically confined to a shop that feels like a monument to her failures.
And then the door chimes. It's a random Tuesday afternoon. The sun is streaming through that historic stained glass window, creating the beautiful kaleidoscope of pink, purple, and yellow light on the worn wood floor.
Such a cinematic moment.
She is literally sweeping up dead petals from a giant funeral wreath. The metaphor there is just incredibly thick. And in walks David, the ex-fiancé, the man who blew up her life via text message.
David.
And he has the audacity to not be alone.
He brings Haley, the new fiancé.
I have to pause here because this scene makes my blood boil. Let's talk about Haley, because Haley is not a villain, which actually makes it infinitely worse.
Oh, completely. It would be so much easier if she were evil.
Exactly. Haley works in marketing in the city. She is a Leo. She loves brunch. She posts post-gym selfies with matcha lattes.
She's just living her best life.
Right. She is vibrant, unbothered, and entirely unburdened by generational trauma. She walks into this suffocating, history-laden flower shop, looks around, and genuinely coos over how adorable it all is.
She treats the shop like a quaint museum exhibit, completely unaware that it's Daisy's psychological prison.
Exactly. And Daisy desperately wants to hate her, but she can't because Haley is so aggressively pleasant.
Yeah.
But it's David's reaction that is the real emotional violence in this scene.
Yes. Let's get into David.
David looks at Daisy sweeping up dead flowers in her black t-shirt, and he gives her this look of profound pity. He looks at her like some horrible, unavoidable tragedy has befallen her, completely ignoring the fact that he's the tragedy.
He is the literal cause of it.
He is the one who dumped her.
Let's analyze why that pity is so toxic for Daisy. Pity from an ex-partner who wronged you is the ultimate invalidation.
Okay, wait, say more about that.
Well, it signals that they don't view you as an equal who they hurt, but as a pathetic creature who they are fortunate to have escaped. For Daisy, David's pity validates her deepest, darkest fear that the town is right.
Oof.
That she is fundamentally broken, unlovable, and cursed. She hasn't been on a single date in the year since he dumped her via text. She is standing in a failing business. In that moment, the jade armor shatters completely.
It really does.
She needs a lifeline to save face, not just for the business, but for her own basic human dignity.
Which brings us to the most spectacular, high-stakes lifeline possible, the fake boyfriend, the Elliot maneuver.
This is where the narrative shifts from a study of isolation and community surveillance into a fascinating exploration of unexpected connection and, well, the utility of fiction.
But before we get to the romance of it, I really need to push back on Elliot's behavior here. You have Elliot, guy who moved to Dream Harbor 2 years ago specifically to hide from love.
Yes, he is hiding.
He went through a brutal divorce from his ex-wife, Lee. He lost his 3-bedroom house, the attached garage, the fenced-in yard, and agonizingly, he lost his dog, Sam.
Which is the saddest part.
It is. He is a blushing, bespectacled history nerd who watches 3-part American Revolution documentaries for fun. He's so quiet, he lived in town for a year and a half before people even realized he was there.
A total recluse.
He bought a tiny Charlie Brown tree at Kira's farm and decorated it in total solitude. He is actively terrified of vulnerability.
He has constructed a life entirely around the avoidance of emotional risk.
Right, so he avoids the flower shop because he knows he has a massive crush on Daisy. He watches her at town meetings, admires her resilience, but stays away until the fateful Mother's Day town meeting.
The showdown.
Daisy is up at the podium, trying to secure a spot selling flower crowns at the upcoming spring festival. And the town essentially forms a firing squad of gossip. Tammy, Kaori, Mac, Annie, they all start expressing their hesitation out loud.
It's so painful to read.
Mac literally says, "We love our moms, Daisy," implying that buying her flowers would be an act of hostility toward their own mothers. Tammy tells her, "You haven't exactly been lucky in love, no offense," and Daisy just breaks. The fight leaves her eyes.
It's the moment the collective narrative finally overpowers her individual willpower.
And Elliot, watching from the back, acts on pure instinct. He stands up, shocking everyone, especially Annie, who is visibly horrified that she didn't know his exact arrival date in town, and he announces that he and Daisy have been dating for a month.
Just throws himself on the grenade.
He looks at the crowd and says, "Daisy's flowers are perfect, and so is she." Now, here's my pushback. As swoon-worthy as that line is, isn't Elliot just being incredibly reckless and manipulative?
Oh, interesting point.
He is lying to a room full of people. He is stepping into a highly volatile situation involving a woman's livelihood and making it infinitely more complicated by introducing a massive fraud. How is this framed as a rescue rather than a disaster waiting to happen?
It's a phenomenal question, and it really cuts to the core of why the fake dating trope is so psychologically compelling. Is it reckless? Logically, yes. It's a house of cards. But psychologically, what Elliot is doing is essentially initiating exposure therapy through play.
Exposure therapy. How so?
Think about trauma and the nervous system. Elliot's previous marriage ended in a devastating divorce. His brain associates romantic vulnerability with profound pain and loss. If he were to try and genuinely date Daisy, his fight-or-flight response would trigger immediately.
He'd panic.
Exactly. He would be paralyzed by the fear of losing her, of losing another house, of losing another dog. But by framing this as a fake relationship, a performance for the benefit of the town, he entirely removes the stakes.
Because if it's fake, it can't fail.
Exactly. He creates a psychological safety net. He can hold her hand, he can defend her honor in a town meeting, he can look her in the eye and call her beautiful, and his nervous system stays calm because his brain is telling him, don't worry, this is just a theater production.
Oh, wow. That makes so much sense.
Ironically, it is the mechanism of the lie that allows him to express his truest feelings. He can be the perfect, attentive partner because he doesn't have to worry about the relationship imploding. And for Daisy, who is terrified of her curse ruining another genuine connection, a fake boyfriend is the only kind of boyfriend she can safely accept right now.
That is fascinating. They are both using the fiction to bypass their own trauma responses. And you see that deeply analytical approach when they retreat to the back of the flower shop to plan this out.
Oh, the planning scene is gold.
They go into Daisy's tiny, dark apartment, the apartment she hates because it represents her failure to escape, and they sit down over chamomile tea and half a package of Oreos, and they literally start engineering a romance like it's a corporate merger.
The contrast between the intense emotional stakes and the mundane logistical planning is what makes the dynamic work. They are treating intimacy like a data entry project.
They start checking off the boxes to build their alibi. Allergies, none. Pets, none, unfortunately. Which brings up the lingering ghost of Sam the dog. Favorite books. He picks The Book Thief, which is perfectly on brand for a history nerd. She picks The Witch of Blackbird Pond, which is so revealing.
Oh, it is the perfect choice for her.
It's a book about a girl who doesn't fit into a rigid, puritanical community and is accused of witchcraft. It's literally Daisy's life.
It's a brilliant subconscious reveal of how she views her persecution by the town.
And then they get to family history. She admits, very reluctantly, that her parents are named Alan and Daisy. And Elliot, completely charmed, finds it incredibly endearing that her whole family is named Daisy. He tells her it's cute.
Which is the wrong thing to say.
Naturally, it infuriates her. She bristles immediately. She wants to be seen as a serious, edgelord CEO, not a cute legacy florist in a yellow apron. But Elliot doesn't flinch at her sharpness. He just absorbs it.
Because again, the stakes are artificially low for him. He isn't threatened by her defenses. And they were going to need a watertight alibi because Dream Harbor demands a performance. The town operates like a jury and they need to present evidence.
Which leads to the most nerve-wracking test run ever at the Cinnamon Bun bookstore. Daisy is in there, pretending to browse, and Elliot walks in. They have choreographed this.
It's so intense.
They intentionally link hands and walk right into the middle of the local book club meeting. We are talking about the apex predators of the town rumor mill. Nancy, Linda, Kaori, Isabel, Jeannie, Mac, and Jacob. The Greek chorus is fully assembled.
It is a gauntlet. They are walking into the lion's den.
Jacob immediately coos at them, loudly declaring them Dream Harbor's latest lovebirds, ensuring the entire store is watching.
Oh!
Nancy, who has this shrewd X-ray gaze, leans in and interrogates Daisy, questioning if she is actually happy.
So nosy.
Right. The physical tension in this scene is palpable. Daisy is so terrified of being exposed, so tense with the lie, that she is practically crushing the bones in Elliot's hand. But Elliot doesn't pull away.
He's so steady.
He gently squeezes back. He winks at her, and he anchors her. Her forced, panicked smile relaxes into a genuine one. She looks at Nancy and says, they are very serious. And Mac, who happens to be there buying real flowers for Annie, loudly backs them up, validating the illusion.
What's so crucial about that bookstore scene is the physical touch, the hand squeeze. In a town where everyone is watching your every move, public physical touch is the ultimate proof of concept. But while they are busy fabricating this future together to appease the book club and the mayor, they inadvertently start unearthing the very real, buried past of Daisy's family.
This is where the narrative really expands for me. We move from the anxiety of the present into the weight of history. Because Elliot, being the massive American Revolution documentary nerd that he is, ends up at the local library with Alex, the archivist.
Right, he applies his historical research skills to his fake girlfriend's very real problems.
Exactly. He starts digging into microfiche, old copies of the Dream Harbor Gazette, and dusty leather-bound town history books. And he discovers the architectural and civic roots of Main Street.
It's like a treasure hunt.
He finds out that this string of buildings dates back to the mid-18th century. He finds early black and white photographs of the town when the roads were still dirt and there were horses hitched outside. And he realizes that the Daisy Chain Flower Shop has been a cornerstone of this community almost since its inception.
He contextualizes her struggle. He realizes she isn't just running a failing retail space, she is the curator of a living museum.
He even discovers that it was Daisy's family who provided the flowers for a historic high society mayor's wedding decades ago, which is the exact event that launched the shop's legendary reputation for weddings in the first place.
The irony there is staggering. The very foundation of their legacy was built on blessing a mayoral marriage, and now a modern mayor's dream is destroying them over ruined marriages.
It's incredible. But Elliot's historical deep dive triggers a massive internal shift for Daisy. And the catalyst for that shift arrives in the back of a pickup truck. Daisy is outside, loading up Logan's truck with all the flower crowns she managed to secure for the spring festival thanks to Elliot's intervention at the town meeting.
Right.
And Grandma June walks up with a dusty cardboard box. She drops it on the counter, dusts off her hands, and casually mentions that she cleaned out the back apartment years ago and kept some things she thought Daisy might want.
That box is a literal treasure trove of generational memory.
It's heavy with history.
Yeah.
Daisy opens it and finds old, leather-bound shop ledgers filled with handwritten cursive. She finds brittle, silver gelatin, black and white photos. She looks at faces she only vaguely knows from stories.
Like who?
There's Arthur in his military uniform from 1943. There's Emily, looking glamorous in 1956. There's John and Liddy standing proudly in front of the shop in 1933, right in the teeth of the Great Depression. As she touches these photos, Daisy literally feels the decades passing through her fingertips. She isn't just Daisy the failed fiancée anymore. She is part of a continuum.
The concept of the daisy chain begins to morph in her mind.
It does. But the real emotional nuclear bomb in that box is Great Aunt Daisy's diary. It's a small, worn book wedged between the pages of an old ledger. Daisy takes it back to her dark apartment and starts reading it late at night under the glow of a single lamp.
Such a moody scene.
She becomes obsessed with this woman who lived a century before her, standing on the exact same floorboards, looking out the exact same stained glass window, and she turns to an entry dated May 16, 1925.
The parallel between the 1925 entry and the modern-day protagonist is the emotional core of the story. Let's break down exactly what Great Aunt Daisy wrote.
It is uncanny. Great Aunt Daisy writes about the excitement of opening the shop with her brother John. But then the entry pivots. She writes about a handsome stranger named Nathan who comes into the shop to buy flowers twice in 2 days.
Okay.
Clearly Nathan is interested, but Great Aunt Daisy's reaction is pure, concentrated cynicism. She writes, "John says he must have taken a fancy to me, which I find absurd. I have no need for men to fancy me, not anymore, not ever again."
Not ever again. That implies a profound pre-existing heartbreak.
Exactly. It's like finding out your family's emotional baggage was packed and loaded onto the train 100 years before you were even born.
It is a wild realization to have.
Daisy has been sitting in that apartment feeling completely alone in her misery. She felt like a freak for failing at love, for putting on the jade armor, for rejecting the sunny optimism of her name. But reading those words, she realizes that her namesake, an entire century earlier, echoed her exact same heartbreak and her exact same defensive cynicism.
If we look at the psychological mechanism of what happens to Daisy in this moment, it is a profound cognitive reframing. Before she opened that diary, she viewed the daisy chains strictly as a cage. It was a curse that demanded she be happy and successful, and her failure to do so made her disappointment.
Right.
But reading her great aunt's aggressive declaration of independence, seeing the photos of Arthur and Emily surviving wars and economic collapse, she realizes she is part of a lineage of deeply complex, scarred, resilient women. They weren't just cheerful caricatures in yellow aprons. They were women who survived catastrophic heartbreaks, societal limitations, and actual historical tragedies.
She realizes she isn't just a quirky girl failing at a cute floral business. She is the steward of a 200-year-old institution built on the backs of survivors. It transforms her legacy from a suffocating burden into an absolute source of strength. She suddenly has an overwhelming desire to make these ancestors proud. She wants to fight for the floorboard she's standing on.
And this is a crucial pivot in the narrative, emotional epiphanies don't pay the commercial rent.
No, they do not. You can feel deeply connected to your ancestors all you want, but if the town still thinks your bouquets caused divorce, the bank is going to foreclose on your 200-year-old legacy. The rumor is still actively bankrupting her. So how does she weaponize her new historical confidence? How do they actually combat the curse?
Well, we see a hilarious and very telling generational divide in how to solve this problem. We see the mystical approach versus the practical approach.
Oh, the mystical approach is so funny. Enter Daisy May, the mother. Daisy May is supposed to be retired, but she is constantly hovering around the shop in her brightly colored daisy print apron, trying to fix this public relations nightmare with literal magic.
Because of course she is.
She's at home, placing clear quartz crystals all around the house to help her husband Alan's memory, even though Alan's memory is perfectly fine. She brings citrines and amethysts into the shop, hiding them behind pots, claiming they attract wealth and prosperity.
It's an attempt to fight magical thinking with magical thinking. The town believes in a foggy dream curse, so the mother tries to counter it with crystal vibrations.
It peaks during the absolute height of summer. The shop has this struggling, rattling window AC unit that is barely keeping the flowers cool, and Daisy walks in to find her mother literally blowing ground cinnamon through the front doorways of the shop.
Oh my God!
Just exhaling clouds of baking spices into the humid air, claiming it wards off negative energy and bad luck.
Which is wonderfully maternal but practically useless. It just leaves Daisy sweeping up a sticky mess of cinnamon from the historic wood floors. You cannot fight a modern, socially reinforced rumor with folklore. To dismantle a modern narrative, you need a modern, data-driven strategy.
Which brings us to the practical approach, the viral marketing pivot, orchestrated by her friends Kira and Iris.
This is where we see the concept of narrative agency take center stage. Daisy and her friends realize a fundamental truth about public relations: you cannot erase data.
What do you mean?
Well, the town is right about one thing: 3 weddings did end in divorce. The facts exist. If Daisy tries to argue that those marriages were fine, she looks like a liar. What Kira and Iris help her understand is that they don't need to change the facts. They need to change the meaning of the facts. They need to reframe the narrative.
So Kira, who runs the Christmas tree farm and understands event logistics and social media, starts doing some detective work. She tracks down past customers online. She starts posting high-quality photos of Daisy's incredible floral arrangements, tagging the clients, trying to drum up engagement to prove the flowers weren't at fault. And what happens next is pure internet alchemy.
It's the unpredictable nature of virality. You can't force it, but when it hits the right emotional chord, it explodes.
And the chord it hits is the nursing home story. A former bride finds Kira's post and leaves a massive comment. She openly, publicly admits that her marriage failed. She doesn't hide the shame. In fact, she leans into the chaos. She says her groom was a cheating bastard who she literally caught in bed with her own cousin.
A spectacular cinematic failure of a marriage.
A total Jerry Springer disaster.
Yeah.
And this is the crux of the pivot, the bride writes, that the wedding flowers provided by the Daisy Chain Flower Shop were so stunningly beautiful, so meticulously crafted, that after she threw the cheating groom out, she refused to let the flowers go to waste.
Wow.
She packed up all the centerpieces and donated them to a local nursing home. And she writes that those flowers looked beautiful in the nursing home dining room for weeks. She publicly thanks Daisy for providing the only bright spot on the most terrible day of her life.
And Kira, being the meticulous event planner she is, actually calls the nursing home to confirm that no cute elderly couple spontaneously split up that week just to ensure the curse didn't transfer.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
But I want to pause and look at what just happened here. This is brilliant marketing, but isn't it also a massive public middle finger to the gossip mill of Dream Harbor?
Oh, absolutely.
Daisy didn't just prove she wasn't cursed. She proved that her art, her flowers, were the only good, enduring thing to come out of a toxic situation. She weaponized the failure of the marriage to highlight the resilience of her work.
Exactly. This is the absolute apex of narrative reframing. She took the town's primary piece of evidence against her failed marriages and inverted it. She shifted the focus of her brand from perfect weddings to resilient beauty. She is essentially telling the town, yes, love is unpredictable and marriages fail. I can't control that. But my flowers will bring you joy regardless of what the groom does.
And people resonate with that so much more than a sanitized fairy tale.
Mm.
Another woman comments on the thread, admitting that her marriage didn't last either, but adding that her deadbeat husband never bought her flowers anyway. So now, as a divorced, independent woman, she buys Daisy's bouquets for herself and her friends.
Because it offers catharsis. People are starved for narratives of triumph over betrayal.
It sparks an entire movement, it's picked up by a local influencer, and suddenly there's a hashtag. The internet does what the internet does best, it creates a trend. But this is a wholesome trend. People start buying flowers not for romantic partners, but for friends who deserve them.
Which is beautiful.
They buy them to celebrate platonic love, to celebrate surviving a bad week, to celebrate self-love. Every person who is nominated gets a bouquet. Daisy's shop is flooded with orders. She even takes it a step further and curates free, custom bouquets for all the other businesses in Dream Harbor, perfectly matching their distinct aesthetics.
By taking control of the narrative, she reclaims her agency within the community. She proves to the panopticon of Dream Harbor that love isn't just a binary metric of successful or failed marriages. It is a spectrum. It's about community support, female friendship, and the joy you can salvage from the wreckage of a terrible day.
She completely flipped the script. The shop is saved. The curse is publicly, joyfully, and profitably debunked. The daisy chain is secure for another generation.
Yeah.
But of course, there is one massive, glaring loose thread still hanging out there.
Yes, there is.
If you're listening, you're probably screaming at your device right now. What happened to Elliot? What happened to the fake relationship that started this whole cascade of events?
Right. We cannot ignore the catalyst for her entire journey of self-discovery. The exposure therapy has to end eventually.
So let's fast forward to the emotional climax of the story. The physical danger to the shop is gone, but the emotional danger is at its peak. Daisy is feeling so deeply connected to Elliot. He isn't just a fake boyfriend who bought her time to fix her PR crisis. He is a true partner.
He really is.
He's the one who saw her strength, who stood up to the town, who helped her uncover her family's history in the archives. They have seamlessly transitioned from fake planning over Oreos to genuine intimacy. And it all comes to a head on a stormy night.
The symbolism of the storm here is classic literary architecture. A storm represents a break in atmospheric pressure, a violent washing away of the old narrative to make way for the new.
The pressure finally breaks. Daisy, who has spent her whole life hiding behind the jade armor, hiding in the dark apartment, hiding from the curse of her namesake, literally runs through the pouring rain to Elliot's house.
Such a great visual.
She breaks her own personal curse. She actively chooses vulnerability. She refuses to repeat Great Aunt Daisy's century-old mistake of isolating herself from love out of fear. She chooses Elliot.
It's a powerful, active moment. She isn't just letting things happen to her anymore. She's choosing hope over historical precedent.
And Laurie Gilmore doesn't just leave us with the kiss in the rain. She rewards the reader with an incredibly satisfying epilogue. She jumps the narrative 20 years into the future.
Which is such a necessary structural choice. After spending so much time unpacking the century of history that preceded Daisy, we need to see the actual, tangible legacy that Daisy and Elliot build for the future.
So 20 years later, picture the shop. It is a thriving, bustling floral empire. The sun is still shining through that same original stained glass window, painting the worn wood floor in those familiar pink, purple, and yellow hues. The building has survived another 2 decades. The bell chimes, and in walks Elliot. He's older, a little gray, but he is still that steady, patient presence that has anchored her for 20 years. And he is holding the leash of a dog named Goldie.
Which is such a beautiful, subtle callback. Goldie is the name they brainstormed during their fake dating era when discussing imaginary pets. He finally got a dog to replace the heartbreak of losing Sam in his divorce. It proves that the healing was mutual.
It's so sweet. And they aren't alone. They have children. Maggie, who is chaotically searching the shop for her missing shoes, and James. James is standing in the middle of the flower shop wearing his high school graduation gown, looking exactly like his father.
That whole circle.
Daisy is standing there, no longer in defensive black, fighting back tears of overwhelming pride.
When you look at that epilogue, what stands out to you the most about her journey?
For me, it's how completely integrated she has become into the fabric of the town, but entirely on her own terms. The gossip about curses is ancient history. Nobody even remembers Mayor Kelly's foggy dream. Instead, the town talks about the Dream Harbor glow-up. Daisy didn't just survive the town's judgment, she thrived, and her floral arrangements became the signature aesthetic for nearly every business's door, window, and countertop in the community. She essentially redecorated her own panopticon.
She became the most vital, proactive link in the entire daisy chain. She honored the women who came before her, the ones who survived the Great Depression, the ones who survived the rose fungus, and the ones who survived heartbreak not by suffering the way they did, but by finally allowing herself to be happy, vulnerable, and wildly successful.
It's a triumphant ending to a really complex psychological journey. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to carry on. We just spent this entire time unpacking how the collective gossip of a small town almost destroyed a 200-year-old family legacy over a perceived curse.
Right, a total illusion.
It was a collective hallucination born out of anxiety that nearly bankrupted a highly talented woman. But all it took to dismantle it was one person. Elliot stepping up to interrupt the pattern with a reckless lie, and then Daisy herself finding the courage to change the narrative from cursed weddings to resilient beauty.
It's a potent reminder of how much immense power we unconsciously give to the stories other people tell about us.
Exactly. So think about your own life right now. What curse or negative narrative are you dealing with? Whether it's a label from your family, a reputation in your workplace, or just your own internal monologue telling you that you are fundamentally bad at something. What narrative are you accepting as absolute fact?
Such a good question.
And what would actually happen if you, like Daisy, stopped hiding behind your armor, dug into your own resilience, and simply decided to rewrite the script today? You might feel like you're trapped in a snow globe surrounded by people expecting you to fail, but remember, you hold the pen. You can write a new ending.